If you're a captain and I'm a Jedi, then technically I outrank you, right?
In my book, experience outranks everything.
Well, if experience outranks everything, then I definitely outrank you.
May the Force be with you.
Hey, what's happening, everyone? SirJames coming at you guys with another Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Legacy Lightsaber review. This time we have one from one of my favorite characters from the show, and that is Ahsoka Tano. Now, I will admit, when she was first introduced during the Star Wars Clone Wars animated film, I wasn't too sure what to make of her character. But I am glad that we saw huge dramatic changes to her character growth throughout the entire series, to the point when she ended up leaving the Jedi Order. I was devastated, but I was super pumped out when she made a reappearance in Star Wars Rebels. In fact, the Legacy Saber that they sell is actually not based from the Clone Wars. Her sabers here are based from the Rebels franchise. And of course, for this video, because I often get questions like, what blades would you recommend? For those of you who don't know, when it comes to the Legacy Saber blades, they have a 26-inch blade, there's the 31-inch from Sabi's Workshop, and there's also the 36. For this initial video, just a heads up, I have two blades here. I have the 26-inch blade, and I have the 31-inch blade, so that way you guys can kind of use this as a reference to determine what is going to work for you, but for sure you definitely want at least one 26-inch blade for sure. Now, of course, just like with her character-themed saber, where can you find hers at? It's going to be located at a shop known as Doc Ondar's, right next to Sabi's Workshop, and right across the way from Ronto's Roasters. And often people ask me, what is the heaviest lightsaber that you've had thus far? I will say that as far as packaging goes, Ahsoka's is definitely the heaviest. In fact, the other interesting thing is that hers is the only one out of the entire set that incorporates two hilts in one package. So let's go ahead and open up the box. So here is the front of it with, of course, the nice white symbol. Do keep in mind that hers is also the most expensive, running at $200. When you open up, you'll be presented with two saber hilts. And another thing that I wanted to point out, because I did notice this during the unboxing of the Kylo Ren Legacy Saber, is that these larger crates here that these sabers come in open up so much better compared to the smaller boxes. As you can see when I open this up, it is so smooth for the opening mechanism compared to, for example, here's one of the smaller boxes, in this case the one where My Asajj Ventress came in. When you open this up, see, it's a bit rough and it gets stuck, and it's not as smooth as the larger ones. I just thought I'd kind of point that out. So for Ahsoka Tano's, the only thing that you'll get inside the crate is, of course, the two hilts. One of the hilts is a little bit larger, while the other one is a little bit smaller. And there are no additional accessories in the box, just a little bit of an FYI. And just like with all Legacy Sabers, there are no blades included in the packaging. Those are sold separate. So in this case, what you're looking at for Ahsoka Tano, you got $200 plus tax, plus you're going to need to incorporate two blades. So you're looking at spending just a little bit over $300, just so you guys are aware. And now we have her hilts. So I'm just going to go ahead and first show off the items individually, and then I'll give you guys a size comparison. So here is the first one. I love the stickers on this one so you know where the activation switch is. And I love the initial design. And then the other side. Next up is, of course, the smaller hilt. And then when you compare the two side by side, there is the initial size difference. So typically some of the hilts have the same type of battery pack removal where you just unscrew the pommel. The Kylo Ren was a little bit different because you had to remove the little black nut to get to the cool looking battery pack. For this one, there's actually a piece that you need to unscrew here. So what you do is that you'll be unscrewing this piece. Once you remove that, you can go ahead and remove this end piece. and thus get access to your battery pack. And unlike the mistake that I made with the Kylo Ren saber where I accidentally said AAA instead of AA, this one, as you can see, is using AAA. And then you just put the pieces back together. And you go ahead and put the screw back into place. So it's not too difficult to get into, and I kind of like the design. It's not too big of a hassle. It works. All you need to do is just make sure you don't lose that screw, because they don't include any extras, which I personally think that they should. So going over the blades individually, as far as how do they feel, I will say that, of course, the much larger one here has a much more of a hefty build to it. And then this one is a little bit lighter. I mean, again, you do have the size difference, thus the weight difference. And starting off with this one, the larger one here, I do like the fact that towards the bottom here, towards the pommel, you actually do get a little bit of grip there with the rubber padding for the black pieces. And when you have this in hand, it feels quite good. Now, I will say this, if you're planning on swinging this around, I highly recommend you take it slow and to kind of get a better feel for the saber. Otherwise, you may accidentally end up dropping these, which it is something that you don't want to do for an expense like this. But anyways, this one does feel good in the hands. It just takes just a few minutes to kind of get used to the additional movement and the weight of it. Now, as far as this one, you don't have any grip towards the bottom here, just the rubber finish towards the center portion, just like the other one. But even without the grip, there's still no issues with it. And because it's a little bit on the lighter side, I don't think you would have any issues regardless. Now, as far as the activation button, it does utilize a little small button here. And unlike the Jedi Temple Guard one, where the Temple Guard had a button that stuck out quite a bit and it seemed fragile, this one I do personally like. It doesn't feel fragile, it feels nice. And what I like about it too, especially if you're going to be posing for like a video or something like that, you could easily position your hand and fingers to the point where you can activate these at the same time and to pull off some pretty cool video shots or photo opportunities, which I think is pretty neat. So without further ado, let's go ahead and oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention is that these both utilize the D-ring system, which again, I'm a huge fan of the D-ring myself. Now let's go ahead and bring over the 31-inch blade. So again, you insert a blade, you do get the sound, and you just go ahead and twist it in place, which again, this one also had a bit of a snug fit. As far as blade goes, a slight wobble, but not as much as some of the other ones. Now let me go ahead and incorporate a blade for the smaller hilt here, which again, I am utilizing the 26-inch one. So here is how this looks with the blades. So hopefully you guys can see that. Now let's go ahead and do a little sound test here. Now let's go ahead and do a sound test with the larger one. So it seems like the larger one captures the sound movement a little bit more compared to the smaller one. But typically when Ahsoka's using these, she has them both ignited. So let's go ahead and ignite both at the same time. But yeah, when it comes to her character, she wields the sabers quite differently. Sometimes they're in the front of her, sometimes she has one flipped around. I just realized while editing this video that I should have just brought over my Savi's lightsaber, because I do happen to have a white kyber crystal. So let's go ahead and compare the Savi saber with the white crystal to the Ahsoka Tano. So once again, here is Ahsoka Tano. And here is the one with the white kyber crystal. Now let's go ahead and initiate both of these at the same time. And deactivate. So let me know in the comment section down below, did you like the sound from Ahsoka Tano's more or from Sabi's Workshop? For me, I like the one from Sabi's Workshop a little bit more, but you could be the initial judge. Versus the other, or sometimes they're both flipped around that she utilizes a lot during the Star Wars Clone Wars animated series. But again, these Legacy Sabers are quite cool. I mean, not everyone may be a big fan of hers, or some people may not like her initial designs. And as far as how does it feel in terms of in the hand, I will admit that for this one, the hilt does feel a little thicker than it should be. I honestly wish that the hilt was maybe just toned down a little bit more, than I think it would have been perfect. But other than that, I do like the hilts, and I do like how everything sounds and looks. But you guys can let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Until then, I am SirJames from Gamer Fusion. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next review, where we'll be taking a look at all the scrap metal for power and control. Until then, you guys have a great rest of your day.
Ahsoka.